So a few years later, let's see if Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's Edge of Tomorrow still holds up today. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video we are going to be reviewing Edge of Tomorrow, which is a science fiction action thriller movie that was loosely based on the Japanese novel All You Need Is Kill, although they did change 2/3 of that novel. So if you are expecting to see that novel coming to life, in this movie you might be a little bit disappointed, but that being said, this movie is still pretty decent. I mean, it's directed by Liman, and I do like the majority of the stuff that he's worked on, and he does do a really good job in terms of creating a massive movie blockbuster. I mean, the final act of this movie does drag a little bit, but on the whole, it is pretty impressive, it is pretty solid, and it is pretty ambitious as well, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in this movie review. So the premise of this movie is that there is an alien invasion where the aliens known as mimics are actually succeeding in taking over the majority of the planet. During this war, the main lead character, known as Major William Cage, gets the ability to respawn and live the day again every single time that he dies. He then meets and partners up with a bit of a super soldier character known as Sergeant Rita Vertrasky, who used to have this respawning ability, and the two of them work together to try and save the day and destroy the aliens once and for all. Now from a positives point of view, I mean, it's got a really cool premise that gets more and more complicated as the movie progresses. Also, it's very immersive. You do feel like you're on the battlefield with all of these different characters, and I remember watching this in IMAX and it really does immerse you into the movie really well. However, from a negatives point of view, it does have a little bit of a slow start, and the final act of this movie does feel a little bit murky and a little bit too complicated. Also, it is very battle centric, and they could have done with injecting a little bit more fun in this movie, but that being said, from a storyline point of view, on the whole, it is actually pretty solid. So whilst there are quite a few secondary characters, this movie definitely is Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's movie, and they do a really good job, so let's break it down one by one. So first up, of course, we have Tom Cruise, who is playing the main character, Major William Cage. Now it's really interesting, as originally the main preferred actor for this position was actually going to go to Brad Pitt, but he didn't want to do this movie, and instead it went to Tom Cruise, and he did do a decent job. I'm personally not the biggest Tom Cruise fan, but I can't deny the fact that he did actually do a good job. It's really believable. I feel like he carries this movie really well, and he does do a good job in terms of being the main action hero and the action star in this movie. Next up we have Emily Blunt, who is playing the second in command, Sergeant Rita Vertrasky. Even though she is a little bit of a second in command character, she definitely is flying the flag for very strong and powerful female-based characters, as she does do such a good job as the Sergeant Rita Vertrasky character, who actually is training Tom Cruise's character, which is a really interesting complete flip on the standard gender stereotypes in these kind of action movies. She's very no-nonsense, very ruthless, and truly just wants to save the day, and she definitely is in command in the battlefield, and she does do a really good job in terms of being that very powerful heroic figure in this movie. Next up we have Brendan Gleeson, who's playing a sergeant character, a bit of a questionable character, especially at the start of this movie. And we also then of course have the aliens themselves, the mimics. In the beginning you just think that these aliens are just very brute strength based, and in turn that's why they're able to take over the world. But as the movie progresses, you actually find out that actually they're quite smart, and there's some really cool twists and turns that are involved specifically with these alien breed of characters. We then have the misfit characters, who are the other soldiers that are working with Tom Cruise's character to try and stop these aliens and definitely round off the cast. And so from a casting characters point of view overall, they're actually pretty decent in Edge of Tomorrow. So from a visuals point of view, a lot of the budget from this movie went into the visuals, and it does show, as it all looks really epic, really cool, and actually really believable as well. Obviously this is a bit of a larger than life stake of event happening in terms of aliens trying to take over the planet, which is a little bit cliche and has been done quite a number of times before, but it is actually pretty immersive, like I've said a number of times in this review, which actually is really cool. Top-notch CGI. Like I did also say before, the final act of this movie does look a little bit clunky and a little bit murky as well, but all in all, it does look really impressive. There's a lot of scenes on the beach battle, so I feel like they definitely got their money's worth with that particular location, as they totally rinsed it, and there are a lot of scenes, the majority of the scenes in fact, in this movie within that setting. And so, you know, all in all, from a visuals point of view, Edge of Tomorrow actually does look really, really impressive. So like I just said, this concept has been done before in terms of aliens trying to take over the world. However, I would say Edge of Tomorrow is quite unique in its particular execution. You know, I think the film that is most similar to is The Tomorrow War, and I have to say I did prefer The Tomorrow War to Edge of Tomorrow, but I do think Edge of Tomorrow is a lot stronger than Independence Day, After Earth, and Gemini Man, and I'd put it on the same level as Riddick, Elysium, Ender's Game, and Oblivion. And so from a comparison point of view, I actually do think Edge of Tomorrow sits really, really well within the science fiction action thriller genre. So overall, I have to say, you know, I did really enjoy Edge of Tomorrow. I think it's a really clever movie, it's really gritty and really exciting as well. At the same time though, I do think it's a little bit tedious and a little bit drawn out as well, and they definitely could have improved certain moments in there, but you know, it is an enjoyable movie, and so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give it a sort of 6.5 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.